Have you ever asked yourself why some of the kindest people seem to achieve the least in this world? Why those who truly try to live by the values they were taught as children often end up being used or mistreated by others? A man who tries to be good in everything will be ruined among so many who are not, wrote Machiavelli in The Prince. Even though these words were written 500 years ago, they still speak to a painful truth that many kind people live with every day. You were probably told that being kind, honest, and generous would bring good things, that doing the right thing was enough. But let me ask you this: how many times have you done what's right and ended up hurt? How many times have you seen others who don't follow the rules get ahead anyway? This problem isn't new. When Niccolo Machiavelli served his city for 14 years with loyalty, his reward was to be arrested, locked up, and even tortured when a new family took control. From that painful time, he wrote The Prince. It's not a book for people who want to do harm. It's a guide for good people trying to survive in a world that doesn't always reward goodness. I'm not here to tell you to stop being kind, not at all. I want to help you learn how to protect your kindness, how to make it strong enough to stand tall in a world that sometimes sees it as something weak. Let me tell you about Michael. He owned a small business and believed deeply in treating everyone with fairness. One day, a new supplier came to him with what looked like a wonderful deal. Michael agreed with a handshake, paid in advance, and never got what was promised. The vendor had chosen Michael on purpose after noticing how trusting he was with others. This kind of situation isn't by chance. Research shows that people who like to take advantage of others often look closely for signs that someone is easy to manipulate. They search for things like being too agreeable, showing discomfort during conflict, and trying hard to please, all qualities we usually connect with being kind. Now think about your own life. Have you seen certain people keep taking advantage of your generosity? Have you ever asked yourself why they don't act that way with everyone? What you're seeing is something called selective exploitation. People who use others don't treat everyone the same. They look for those who seem less likely to stand up for themselves. Think about that coworker who always gives you their tasks at the last minute, or the friend who keeps borrowing money and never pays it back. These things aren't happening by mistake. These people have figured out that you're someone they can use without consequences. Machiavelli once said, "Men are so simple and so focused on their immediate needs that someone who wants to trick them will always find plenty of people ready to be tricked." He wasn't just being negative. He was describing something he saw again and again in the politics of his time, a pattern that still appears today in workplaces, friendships, and even close relationships. Science has also confirmed this troubling pattern. A study from 2018 found that people who are very kind and cooperative are much more likely to become victims of this kind of treatment. Why does this happen? Because kind people often make themselves easy targets by doing certain things. First, they believe others live by the same values they do. Second, they avoid conflict, even when someone crosses a line. Third, they keep giving, even when they receive nothing in return. And fourth, they feel and show discomfort when they try to be assertive. Here's something important to understand. When Machiavelli said that it is safer to be feared than loved, he wasn't telling people to be cruel. He was simply pointing out that people are less likely to take advantage of someone who might stand up for themselves or set clear consequences. Think about it. Do manipulative coworkers give their last-minute tasks to the boss? Do people who borrow money without paying it back keep asking those who firmly told them no? Of course not. They pick people who've shown. They'll always say yes. So what's the first step in protecting your kindness? It's seeing this pattern clearly. You were chosen not because you're weak, but because your goodness stands out. And that's exactly what they looked for. Maria, a teacher, learned this after 10 years in the classroom. She was always the one who stayed late, helped others, and worked with the students who needed the most support. But when budget cuts happened, she was one of the first to lose her job. Meanwhile, others who had carefully built relationships with the school leaders kept theirs. "I didn't understand," Maria said. "I thought my work would speak for itself." That's the moment of recognition, the point when you suddenly see the world through a different lens, when you understand that doing good and working hard aren't always enough. It feels like waking up from a dream, or maybe stepping into a harsh reality. Have you had that moment yet? That deep and painful realization that the rules you've been following aren't the ones everyone else is using? Machiavelli had his own recognition moment while sitting in a prison cell, tortured for being loyal to a government that no longer existed. But from that dark experience came one of his most powerful lessons. Virtue needs protection through strategy. If not, it will be crushed by those who don't live by any rules at all. The world Machiavelli lived in during the Renaissance isn't so different from today's. The royal courts have become corporate boardrooms, town squares are now online platforms, and office politics have taken the place of the power games once played by rulers and kings. Yet the way people act hasn't changed much. When Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are," he revealed a truth that has only grown stronger in our world of carefully managed images and polished profiles. Just think about how we move through life today. We build our reputations both online and in real life. We form relationships in work and in our personal lives, always trying to tell the difference between real opportunities and situations that might take advantage of us. We still have to protect what matters to us, even while trying to stay kind and do the right thing. That recognition moment, the one where we see things more clearly, is painful, but it's also important. It's the moment we stop being overly trusting and start being thoughtful and careful, not to stop being kind, but to make sure our kindness doesn't get used up or thrown away by people who don't value it. James was the most skilled engineer at his company. Whenever someone faced a tough challenge, they came to him. But in meetings, James spoke quietly. He often began his ideas by saying, "I might be wrong," and never interrupted anyone. At the same time, his co-worker David would confidently share James's ideas, act as if they were his own, make strong eye contact with the leaders, and take credit for the work. Guess who got the promotion? This is what's called the perception paradox. The way you show up can matter more than what you actually do or know. It may not be fair, but ignoring this truth doesn't make it go away. Think about your own life. Have you ever seen someone less capable but more confident get the chance you deserved? Have you ever shared an idea that was ignored, only to hear someone else repeat it more firmly and be praised? Machiavelli understood this long ago. He wrote, "Men in general judge more by the eyes than by the hands," meaning people often judge you by how you appear, rather than by what you actually do. Modern psychology agrees. Studies show that people who carry themselves with confidence are often seen as more skilled, even if their abilities are the same as others. One important study found that how capable someone seems often matters more than how capable they actually are when it comes to getting hired or promoted. This creates a special kind of challenge for kind people. They often make their achievements seem smaller than they are. Add soft phrases to avoid sounding proud. Give credit to others while taking none for themselves, and speak less strongly than those who don't always act with honesty. The sad truth is that this humility, while good and valuable, can sometimes stop kind people from gaining the influence they need to bring real change. What good is your compassion if you're never in a position to use it in a meaningful way? Think about Eleanor Roosevelt. At first, she was a quiet and unsure political wife, but over time, she worked hard to develop what her biographer called her public voice, a more confident way of speaking that helped her become one of the most powerful voices for human rights in history. Did this new way of presenting herself make her less real? Not at all. It allowed her kindness to become even more powerful. The important lesson here isn't to become someone who only talks about themselves. It's to understand that shaping how others see you isn't a trick, it's a needed skill. if you want your goodness to make a real difference. To protect your kindness, you must learn how to show it with strength. Speak clearly and confidently when you offer your help. Give yourself credit when it's deserved. Make sure your limits are easy to understand, using both your words and your body language. Because if people think you're weak instead of kind, or see you as someone who can be stepped on instead of someone good, they'll act in ways that reflect that view. And then, your ability to help others will be smaller than it should be. When Alex's business partner betrayed him, taking their biggest client and half of the team, his first feeling was anger. But instead of reacting quickly, he waited 3 days. Then, he called a meeting with the team that stayed. He spoke calmly, clearly, and with a plan. "I was screaming inside," Alex later shared, "but I knew showing that would only make things worse." Within a year, he had rebuilt his business, stronger and more focused than before. Meanwhile, his former partner's quickly thrown together company fell apart due to poor decisions and constant arguments. Years later, when they crossed paths again, Alex's former partner said something that revealed a lot. "I never thought you'd recover. You were always too nice." What the partner had seen as weakness was actually great inner strength, the power to feel deeply, but choose wisely when and how to express those emotions. Now think about your own reactions. When someone takes advantage of your kindness, do you quickly show hurt or anger? Do you sometimes react in ways that, instead of helping, actually make things harder for you? Machiavelli understood something important. If you want to stay strong and make a difference, you need to manage your emotions. Not because emotions are bad, but because when others can clearly see and use your emotional reactions, they gain power over you. Consider how people respond to different emotional styles. If you show hurt right away, they might realize they can control you through guilt or pressure. If you get angry too fast, they may feel justified in ignoring you. But if you stay calm, they have to deal with what you're really saying, not just how you're feeling. This doesn't mean shutting off your emotions or pretending you don't care. It means learning something we could call emotional strength, the ability to feel with your whole heart while still choosing the right time and way to express it. Modern research supports this. Studies show that being able to manage your emotions is often a better sign of future success than technical knowledge or skill. This is especially important for kind-hearted people who often feel emotions more deeply because of their strong empathy. Abraham Lincoln showed us how to handle this in one of the most difficult times in American history. When he felt angry, he would write what he called hot letters, messages filled with strong feelings, but he never sent them. Instead, he used writing to work through his emotions without letting them guide his actions. His secretary once found letters so intense they felt like the paper itself was burning. They were marked with words like "never sent" or "too strong." But this careful way of handling his emotions didn't make Lincoln less genuine. It made him wiser and allowed him to help keep the country together and end slavery. His compassion, guided by thoughtful, emotional choices, helped change the world. To be wisely kind, we need to learn this too. It's not about hiding how we feel. It's about knowing when and how to express emotions in a way that protects both our hearts and our goals. This isn't emotional silence, it's emotional wisdom. And it's one of the most important tools for staying kind and strong in a complicated world. Machiavelli once said that people are less likely to hurt someone they fear than someone they love. He wasn't saying we should become scary. He was pointing out how people think. Often, we don't value what's always there. We treasure what feels rare or protected. Think about your own connections with others. Have you noticed that the people who are hardest to reach often seem to get more respect? Have you felt that when you're always there for someone, they sometimes stop appreciating your presence? This is a tough truth for kind people. The natural wish to always be available can end up making others forget just how valuable your presence truly is. Sometimes pulling back can feel selfish or like you're trying to control others. But the answer isn't to become cold or distant. It's about learning something experts call calculated distance, the thoughtful way you decide how available you are to others. This isn't about pretending or playing games. It's about caring for yourself enough to build healthy boundaries that last. Research supports this idea, even if it seems surprising. Studies show that people who set clear limits and protect their time are often seen as more respected and important than those who are always available. This happens in friendships, romantic relationships, and even at work. Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was known for being warm and friendly in public, was also careful about how much access people had to him. His biographer explained that he kept relationships and information organized, never letting anyone or any group have too much of his time. This didn't make people like him less. It made them respect him more. For people who are truly kind, creating space isn't about controlling others. It's about lasting kindness. Research from Stanford's Center for Compassion shows that boundaries help prevent something called compassion fatigue, which is the tiredness that comes from giving too much without a break. Here are some simple ways to try this. Don't feel like you have to reply to every message right away unless it's really urgent. Set times when you can help instead of stopping everything. When you do give your time, be fully there, but decide how much time to give. Let others feel your absence sometimes. Don't say yes to every request. The real goal is to learn something we might call compassionate distance. Caring a lot while also protecting your energy helps your actions have more meaning. This isn't being selfish. It's a smart and kind way to live. It helps your generosity stay strong and appreciated over time. After being overlooked for a promotion again, David chose a new approach. Instead of only working harder, he made some thoughtful changes. He started sending weekly emails to his manager, highlighting what he had accomplished. He practiced saying, "I need to check my schedule," instead of saying yes right away. He spoke up with confidence during meetings while still being respectful to others. He built helpful relationships with people who made important decisions. He learned how to express a different opinion in a calm and professional way. 6 months later, he got the promotion. "I'm still the same person with the same values," he shared. "I just learned how to present myself in a new way." This is a healthy path, keeping your kindness while adding smart habits that help it grow and be seen. It's not about tricking others. It's about making sure your goodness doesn't get ignored or taken for granted. Here are some clear actions you can take. Clear honesty. Be open about your limits from the start. "I'd love to help with this, but I can only give 3 hours this week." Studies show that people respect you more, not less, when you set clear limits. Flexible responses. Change how you respond based on the person. Be generous with friends you trust, but ask for fairness from those who haven't been reliable. One study showed that successful people adjust their style depending on how others have treated them. Smart choices. Put yourself in places where your work can be seen. Join projects that get noticed. Connect your work to the bigger goals. Celebrate achievements with humility. I'm glad our team stayed under budget and passed our targets. Thoughtful sharing. Open up to the right people at the right time. Create deeper bonds with those who've shown they can be trusted. Keep a kind distance from those who've tried to take advantage of you. Noticing patterns. Learn to notice the signs when someone might be taking advantage of your kindness. Do they only reach out when they need something? Do they give back when you help them? Do they honor your time and respect your boundaries? Changing how you respond based on these clues isn't being negative, it's being smart. Practice small acts of courage every day. Speak up if you see a mistake on a bill. Ask for what you truly deserve. Say no when something feels unfair. Each small moment of bravery helps you build the strength to protect your kindness in bigger situations. The path of wise kindness needs balance. It means having a caring heart, but also being aware of how the world works. This doesn't mean becoming cold or tricky. It means protecting your goodness so it can last and grow. even in places where people might try to use it. Imagine a world where the most caring people aren't pushed to the side, but are the ones making important choices, where being aware of what's happening around you helps your kindness grow stronger, not disappear, where deep wisdom is used to support goodness, not to destroy it. This isn't just a dream, it can really happen. Machiavelli, when understood correctly, wasn't asking people to stop being kind. He was trying to show how kindness could survive hard times. His lessons, based on his own struggles, offer a way to be both strong and good. Now you have a choice. Will you keep hoping your kindness alone will be enough for the world to notice? Or will you add wisdom to it, making it strong enough to make a real difference? Kindness with wisdom doesn't just protect you, it helps you become powerful in the best way. It gives you the tools to help build the kind of world you've always wanted. The real gift in Machiavelli's teachings isn't for the unkind. It's for the kind-hearted who want to grow, rise, and transform the places that once ignored them. That change starts with you, right now, as you begin to make your kindness not only gentle, but also wise.